This is The Speaking Show. I'm David Newman, and you're tuned in to the #1 podcast for speakers, consultants, and experts who want to speak more profitably. I am here with Jeremy DeMerchant, Permission to Sell. How are you, my friend?
I'm great, David. How are you?
Well, I love the name of your company, and I think this is probably the #1 obstacle. So I want to start with this concept of permission to sell, that we often don't give ourselves permission to sell. How did you come to that moniker? What are you seeing out there that small and solo business owners do not give themselves permission to sell?
I was sitting in the little room doing some research, just wanting to launch my company and knew I needed a good domain. And the first one I bought was convertingconversations.com. Not so hot. Second one, I just had this idea, permission to sell. I looked it up. It was there. I bought it and suddenly became my company name. But it resonated because I'm from a town called Fredericton, New Brunswick originally. I'm in Ottawa, Canada now. But in that town, there's a lot of startups. And as you know, the startup scene is growing rapidly. But I saw a lot of startups that would come out with this great idea. They'd go to these pitch competitions and they'd have all their passion behind it, but they didn't know how to sell. And so they wouldn't get offers for funding at pitch competitions. If they went through an accelerator program, they weren't making sales during the programs. And I realized that it was a mindset thing. They weren't giving themselves permission to sell before they were trying to get permission from their client, right? And it's the mind game we play with ourselves. It's like, when we're kids, we may have had a parent go to the door and I'll go really old school here. The encyclopedia salesman was there, That way I'm not insulting anybody because they don't exist anymore. When they came to the door, like if they were pushy, you might have a parent that got upset. And so your experience of somebody selling door to door is one of a traumatic experience for your family member. And if that's what's playing in the back of your mind, or when you go to buy a car, you watched the movie Matilda from the 90s with Danny DeVito as like the shady used car salesman. If that's your image of sales, then that's going to hold you back. But the reality is people that sell like that don't survive in the sales business in 2019. You need to sell based on a relationship, because one transaction is not going to help you grow your business long term. You need recurring transactions and growing relationships.
Jeremy, when you work with your clients on this mindset piece, I'm guessing there's two parts to this. One is getting the false beliefs or the false assumptions out of our heads and replacing them with a new set of beliefs, principles, practices, mantras, if you will. So how do you undo some damage from previous sales training or this bad sales experience with the encyclopedia salespeople? And then what do we replace it with?
Good question. So normally I try to have people remember one of their earliest experiences. And a lot of times it actually is going to shop for a car with mom and dad. And I think it's just giving them the ability to, shift away from the mindset that you need to force someone into buying something, right? And to be able to help them think about, hey, you have a couch in your home. Where did you buy it? Did somebody help you pick it out? That's what sales is. Sales isn't, hey, here's the keys, take this home and you're going to love it. It's, what can we do to help you? What's the problem you're trying to solve? And so that it's more of a consultative approach to selling is one where you're finding the problem before you try to solve it versus the more high pressure approaches, which was all about, this is my product. You're going to take it. You're going to take it. You're going to take it. Right. Because it doesn't survive anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and of course, our audience, speakers, coaches, consultants, etc., we always say, listen, you're not selling a coaching program. You're not selling a speech. You're not selling a consulting package. You are solving a problem.
Right.
And there's this whole concept of question-based selling rather than wagging your finger saying, Jeremy, I know your problem. I know where it hurts. And man, do I have the solution for you. How do we stop pitching like that, slow the process down? And I love what you have as your tagline, which is get uncomfortable, get results. Do you feel this questioning-based investigative sales process, is this uncomfortable for people? Would they rather just wag the finger and pitch, or talk about the discomfort of doing it the right way?
Well, I think there's discomfort in all the ways for a lot of people, because sales to a lot of people represents rejection, right? There's a saying, every no gets you one step closer to the yes, but people don't want to go through the no's. And so there's a big mindset shift that needs to happen. And one of the things that I did, I was in a workshop somebody was hosting a long time ago, and they said, look, we're going to put you guys in a restaurant. There was about 30 of us in a room. We went and swarmed this restaurant at the hotel where the event was at. And she said, you need to go and offer your services to people all over the room, and you can't go home until you get at least 10 no's. I couldn't get 10 no's. At 2 a.m., I said, I got to go home now. But what a shift in my thinking, because just because I coach this stuff does not mean I'm on my game 24/7. And it really helped me shift the perspective that it just became a numbers game. And if you're not attached to that outcome, like that's the big shift, right? It's not trying to get a yes, because when you're attached to the yes, there's so much emotion behind it, and you get what I call commission breath, right? People can smell the effort you're putting into getting the close versus solving a problem. But in this activity we did, the focus was getting a no. And so not only am I unattached to the yes, I'm trying to avoid the yes because I want to get out of here. Well, I made a pile of sales that night, and it completely changed the way I thought about things. So luckily that was like month 3 of me running my business. So it helped a lot of people afterwards as well.
Right, for sure. Well, I want to talk about that next because, we always like to do a little inside baseball in addition to sharing some of the content. We're certainly get back to sales and sales conversations and sales relationships. But how did you come to do what you're doing today? Give us the quick highlights of the professional journey that brought you to your business today.
Sure. Well, a long time ago in a land far away, I was in a convenience store across the road from my home. And the gentleman who owned it, I was about 14 years old, gentleman who owned it said, Jeremy, you want a job? And I went, I guess so. And I started working at a convenience store. I learned to love sales. And one weekend, there was a scratch ticket that came in that was branded with the name of a local billiards hall. And I obviously was too young at 14 to buy lottery tickets, but I like to play pool. And somebody came in the store as a customer, and I said, hey, have you seen this? And they said, well, yeah, I'll take one. And I went, oh, that's kind of cool. And then the next person came in, and I said, hey, have you seen this? And they took 2. And throughout the whole weekend, I end up selling out of these $1 scratch tickets. And I realized that if I could share my excitement about something, I could influence someone's buying decisions. And I went, oh, this just got really, really fun. And so it just became a game. Now, obviously, there's not a whole lot of risk versus reward attached to a $1 scratch ticket. It was just the novelty factor. But as I went on, I ended up doing a series of roles. But ultimately, I was working at 2 online universities. One where I'd like to say I learned how to really sell, where someone said, sell me this pen. And I started features and benefits. And I was so proud of what I was doing. And he said, why don't you ask me why I want the pen? I went, oh, okay. So luckily he didn't, he still hired me, luckily. But it changed the game for me and made me realize that I can't assume what somebody's thinking. And there's only 2 ways to get in someone's head. One, be very specific in your demographic, which I was not advanced enough at the time to realize. Or 2, just ask them. And so sales conversations became what I did. And I ended up working at a couple online universities and ended up running the teams. And that moment when I could help influence one of my sales reps to go outside their comfort zone, this is where that get uncomfortable, get results came from. There was a lady I was next to, and she was on the phone with a guy who wanted to invest in an online degree program. And this is the Canadian version of University of Phoenix that we were at. And she looks at me, she says, he says he's about to sell his car to get the money. And I said, say, show me. She goes, what? I said, no, just say it. Say, show me. So she goes back to the phone and says, show me. And later that day, he sold his car and paid. And it was just a little nudge. It wasn't aggressive. It was just a slight challenge, a little bit of a push. Like, are you sure? Do you really want this? And he ended up going through his degree. So it changed that gentleman's life because she went and pushed just a little. And so my career in the online education came to an end when a boss and I had different views. And I thought, you know what? I've been running sales teams for quite a few years now, but I've been stuck doing one at a time. What if I could create a business where I could help multiple teams at once? And so I went back and finished my degree at the University of New Brunswick, my degree in marketing and business. And after that, I just decided one day I was going to own my role and said, okay, today I'm a sales coach. And I went to a networking event, introduced myself as a sales coach. And a former boss said, hey, I think we need to talk. And I went, oh, what? People want this. And so that opened the door.
Hey, good looking. Are you currently getting paid to speak? Would you like to ramp that up? We can help. Book a confidential speaker strategy call with our team at doitmarketing.com/call, and let's see what we might do together. The call is free, but the results Let's may
Talk
be
about,
priceless.
because I think that everyone listening is like, okay, so now we're doing some sales coaching, probably doing a little bit of speaking, maybe to generate leads, get in front of the right rooms. But now you've got this scaled up where you've got a team, you've got courses, you've got done with you, done for you, sort of outsourced. Tell us how the business evolved, or how you looked at your business early on when it was just Jeremy solo. Mm-hmm.
What were the steps to get you some of the automation, scalability, and leverage?
Hey, great question. I kind of look back and go, how did I figure that out? Honestly, I'm still figuring some of it out, but it started with, doing it one-on-one and then realizing there's some pieces I'm doing all the time on repeat. And if I'm going to repeat it, why not scale it and automate it? So I think the pieces that were the biggest things for me is when I started doing a little studying in the online marketing space and understanding the concept of the lead magnets and how do you get someone to opt in for something for free? And then what's the offer on the thank you page? And how do you go from there? And I tested it a little bit and tried it out. And this is sort of, I heard Michael Sierpinski in one of your previous interviews talk about it's safe to lock yourself in and building things. So sometimes I still do that. And I did it a lot starting my business. I went, I'm just going to build something and figure out the getting clients thing later. But luckily, I spent some time building some very effective automations. And what happened was I went to a speaking event and I thought, I need to make an offer, but it's not a kind of audience that I want a really big pitch to. It was like a free speaking event, 15-minute presentation with a 5-minute Q&A. And I thought, what can I do that's easy? And I didn't have a whole lot of time. And luckily, I'm comfortable taking action versus getting it perfect, which was tough initially. And I thought, what can I do? So I decided the last slide, I put a picture of my lead magnet and I put my phone number. And I just said, text me your name and email to this number and you'll get this thing. No automations were actually set up at the time.
Right.
I wanted that simple call to action that they could do in the room. And then when I did it after the presentation, I said, no, seriously, grab your phones right now, text the number, it's free. And so the next morning I went, I got to send all this stuff out. And I put in the email, hey, special offer right now for the next 24 hours, get this $147 digital training for only $7. Not everybody did it. In fact, it was probably only about 15%. But out of the people that did it, one of them ended up being a $15,000 sale for me 3 weeks later. And I just realized the buying process that you can take someone through that, seeing you live is a huge opportunity for building authority. There's no authority building platform like an actual stage. And then when you start moving them through a buying process and shift them from someone who's signing up for something for free to someone that's paid something, in this case, it was only $7, and then get into a conversation where you can ask them the questions. It can be just such a huge shift and a huge opportunity when you build that connection and you actually understand what their challenges are, that when you go to solve it, it doesn't matter if it's a $500 solution or a $5,000 solution or $15,000 solution. You can build that relationship because you've brought them along. You've built that rapport that like, know, and trust, as Bob Berg says, right? And so if you can build the automation to help with that, and like I said, mine wasn't fully automated necessarily, but I did have the Tripwire page set up or the thank you page with the discount. And it just flowed really well. So now it's always go to the download, get some kind of offer on the thank you page. And again, it's probably 15, maybe 20% that go through it. But those people are a lot warmer. And so I can do follow-ups with those and have those conversations with them. And they know who I am. Even if it's just check in and say, hey, did you go through that training that you just spent $7 on? It just opens a lot of doors.
I want to dig into this because I think a lot of people have had success with the way you're doing it. And then some folks have had just complete lack of success in doing it this way, and they take a different path. What I mean specifically is this whole concept of the product ladder, the $7 quote unquote tripwire, which I hate because it's like, now we're blowing our clients up. It's a minefield. Be careful out there, kids. Don't step on the landmine. It's going to get you. So whatever we call it, $7 initial investment to the $47 to the $97 to the $397 to the $997 to the $3,000, $5,000, $10,000. My challenge with that And I know that, you have undisputable success. Many, many successful folks have done it this way. The person that has $7 is not always the same person that has $15,000, even though you said, oh my gosh, it was a huge success story. And this was one of the guys that had $7 and then 3 weeks later, 15,000. Do you see in some way stratifying, there's people that are going to buy the Toyota, there's people that are going to buy the Lexus, and there's people that are going to buy the BMW, and some will buy the Ferrari.
Right.
All the way up and down. Do you want to just start with, hey, $7 gets you in the door. It's an initial little sign of some life on the end of that fishing line. And then I'm going to reel you in and we're going to have a conversation about bigger and bigger solutions to bigger and bigger problems? Or do you find yourself just dealing with too many bottom feeders? Or have you had clients where they've tried it and they say, Jeremy, the $7 people are not my people. Why am I wasting my time here? So how have you experimented with that? And how would you advise your clients?
So for myself, I actually do it two ways. So most of my leads actually aren't generated online. Most of my leads are generated from one-on-one conversations somewhere in the world. I just got off a call with a client this morning who I met at an event in New Orleans where we saw Jordan Belfort speak, The Wolf of Wall Street. So that was cool. And so if somebody comes online, they go through that. They get the free offer. They have the $7 limited time offer. And then there's another training or a book a call, things like that come next. Those people don't, if they're completely cold traffic, honestly, my success in converting those isn't that great. And I want your audience to know that because there's lots of success stories doing it this way. I just can't share a story. Like the reason why that last one worked for me was because I was on stage first. The platform is what made that sale happen. Now, on the other hand, when I meet someone one-on-one, we have a conversation, maybe it's an introduction. And like just this past weekend, I met someone over the weekend and a friend of mine said, hey, you should talk to Jeremy. And he could use some support on a sales team. So I'm going to actually go in with the top offer, but we're going to have a whole lot of conversation first. So the thing that I teach my clients is to always have at least 3 offers. And when you get someone that is the right fit to work with you, you always make the highest level offer that's appropriate to solve their problem. And so I'll go right in at one-on-one. That's going to be the highest level I can serve you at. And I'm going to treat it like it's the only offer initially. I don't want to do them, choose A, B, or C. I'm not going to start there. Too many choices means people aren't going to buy. But if I say, look, based on our conversation, this is where I really think you should go. You want to go there faster? You want to get the results in a bigger way? This will get you there. And then if it really isn't going to happen, we deal with the objections. I'll say, okay, I do have another option. I have a mastermind program. Now, and this is the key piece for anyone listening. When you have a second offer that's lower level, in contrast to your initial one, you want to not only highlight that it might be more affordable because the price is usually less, but you also want to highlight the difference in support because they need to feel the difference. Not just, oh, this is cheaper. If you buy or sell something because somebody says, oh, this is cheaper, it's not going to be the right person for you, not the right fit. But if you go, okay, this is more affordable, it'll still get me some traction, not as fast as the higher level, but I'm okay with that and I'm still committed to getting results, then it could be the right fit. And then if the second offer still just not happening after you've actually effectively dealt with the objections and concerns, you can go to a level lower. And for me, that's normally a digital course. But what I found is that once you get down to the third option, most people will naturally bring themselves back to the second one. They don't want to go, oh, I don't really want to, take the lowest one. And they just feel like, I can handle this second step. And I found that's been huge for me. People will often start with one-on-one, get the traction going, and then maybe we'll bring them down to the mastermind because they don't need as much hand-holding. They just need the regular kick in the butt and, hold the mirror up so they can challenge themselves and go on with their business.
Right. Now, you've also done something which I think is really smart. You've done a lot of things smart, but this one really stands out because it's both smart and brave, which is on the website, it says strategy session with Jeremy or the team, and there's a $1 investment. There is you buy the strategy session. If we decide that there's a good next step and you want to work with us, we apply that towards your program. If you feel that you did not get that equivalent value, we will happily refund your investment. Yeah. Now, obviously, the strategy there is you will get fewer calls, right? Perhaps a lot fewer calls, But the people that then call are more serious. Is that what you found in your testing?
Yeah. And it's very interesting because the people that have come through that way, they're more engaged. My highest sales in history have come through that process. $147. We have the strategy session. We apply it towards whatever the offer is. And applying it makes it feel easier to say yes. Like, oh, I've already got some money in on it. It's like you've already made a deposit, right? But you're right. There's a lot less calls that come in. And I'm okay with that because I've also done a lot of free coaching in my day. And not only is it not efficient for me in my business, but most people that get the free support don't act on it. And that's the part that breaks my heart. So it's not like, oh, I don't want to give. I absolutely want to give. But I don't want to invest an hour of my time to someone that's going to go, that was great. Now I'm going to go home and watch Netflix. So the investment allows them to self-qualify. And yeah, I'll happily say, and this is key, if at the end of our session, you don't feel you got your money's worth, I'll hit the refund button before we're done. That means they have to show up. If you book it, you pay, you don't show up, you're not getting a refund because I didn't get a chance to demonstrate my value, but I was there. That's the big thing. Because if you do too many free ones, quickly, most people will find that there's a lot of no-shows. People don't feel any attachment to that. Like, oh yeah, I booked it. That's fine. I'm just not going to show up. I'm busy getting groceries or whatever. Right. And it's not a reflection on, the coaches or the speaker's expertise. It's where that person has them set in their priority based on their experience up to that point. And if it's all it's been was, hey, click here to book your free call, it's easy to forget. So I am happy to say though, in the, what are we now, 2019? 5 years that I've been doing this, I've never had one person ask for the refund. I've given one on my own. I said, you know what? Yeah, I don't feel like I was able to serve you. I pushed the button, but I've never been asked.
How about that? Well, this is such a great conversation, Jeremy, because we see this sometimes even on our team. And by the way, just for full transparency, so everyone knows, I was one of those people that was introduced to you because it said, hey, David could use some help with his sales team, and maybe you should talk to Jeremy. We had a fantastic conversation. We came through a personal referral, so it was a different path. But yeah, so I have personally experienced the value that you give to your clients and to your prospects. But after that call, whether they come through a referral, whether they buy it on the website, sometimes what we have is we have had a quote unquote good call until the prospect says, Jeremy, this was a great call. Thank you so much. You are an awesome salesperson. Are you going to buy? No, but this was such a valuable call. Now, anytime someone says to someone on our team, this was a great call, you're a fantastic salesperson, it means we've screwed up. My theory on this, I'm not the expert. You're the sales expert here, buddy. So straighten me out on this.
Yeah.
When someone says you're a great salesperson, this was a great call, I think the mistake that we've made is we've let our technique show. And we, on our end, treated it like a sales call, and they felt like they were being sold to. Otherwise, you'd never say you're a great salesperson. You might say you're a great coach. You're a great consultant. Now, when they say you're a great coach, you're a great consultant, that's when they buy. When they say you're a great salesperson, I've never had someone say, oh, David, you're a great salesperson. Here's my credit card number. They say you're a great salesperson, which means I somehow screwed up. I showed my hand. I showed my cards. Maybe it's the commission breath that you talked about. Maybe I was too attached to the outcome. I really need the sale today. I really need the sale. Jeremy, I got to sell this guy. How do you balance that with you're a great salesperson, this was a great call, and then they don't buy? What does that say to you?
Well, I normally know it's coming before it comes. So when I do it, so the strategy sessions that I do, they're kind of a weird beast of their own. And what we had, I would consider ours more of it was a strategy session that you and I had, but then, there was an offer, like we had that conversation. But in a normal strategy session, I'll start off and say, look, I see, you've answered my questions. There's a questionnaire people normally go through. And I see you want to achieve A, B, and C. So here's what I want to do. The next 60 minutes is going to be all about you. My goal at the end of the session is that you can walk away with something that you can use in your business right now. If there's a way that I can help you and I think it's the right fit, I might make an offer. Maybe not. We'll see. But do you think that's all right if that's the case? And they're like, oh, yeah, sure, that's fine. And so at the end, if I think it's the right fit, then I will make an offer. But my goal in the session isn't to close the sale. That sounds ridiculous to a lot of people. My goal is to have somebody else have a positive experience with me. And if I think they're ideal for a client, then I'll make an offer. And if they don't say yes, then I've missed some point along the way, because I normally don't make the offer unless I feel pretty good. It's like you don't propose marriage before you're pretty sure she's going to say yes, right? You've seen those videos and it just ends poorly for the guy, but don't go proposing on the first date. Right? You want to get a feel for it, and you have an instinct, right? If you're really not sure, you're probably not going to pop the question. And that's the way I look at sales. There's been times when I say, you know what? I don't feel like I've had a chance to really show you the value. Let's book a follow-up call. Okay, I won't make the offer unless I'm pretty sure they're going to say yes. I might seed it. I'll often make it a point to tell a story about a customer or client in a similar situation that's had success. Totally transparent about me being a sales guy because that's what I teach. So it's a little easier. So when somebody says you're a great salesperson and doesn't buy, just because at some point, even with you, I said, well, I'm probably the worst salesperson in the world. Ha ha ha. It just lets people's guards down a little bit, right? Because I don't do a traditional push, push, push. I don't, yes, give me 17 yeses, and then I'm going to ask you if you want to buy. That's not my approach. Right. I want to get to know you. I want to get to know your problem and see if there's a solution that I can provide. And again, we'll be more transparent. At the end of our call, we didn't, make a deal. Did you feel like you were pressured?
Not at all. It was a fantastic conversation. And we're still in that conversation.
Exactly.
It's just perhaps deferred to a later date.
Exactly. Right. And so I don't want to be the guy that pushes something down someone's throat to get an upset no. Right. I would rather them say, sometimes I'll say, I don't think you're quite ready. But if you do this, this, and this, come back to me and we'll check in a few months. Right. So that can happen. But I would much rather say, let's book a follow-up call, because I need to feel like they're going to say yes when I pop the question.
Yeah.
And I just don't if I don't feel like they're there.
Super quick commercial break. Isn't this interview amazing? If you'd like to get more ideas on how to start or grow your speaking business fast, pop over to our free training at doitmarketing.com/webinar. You also mentioned something that I think is really critically important, which is the way that people come on the call before even that first hello. And you mentioned that when you're on stage and when you're speaking, that is the best credibility builder and the best authority builder. The people that you then speak to in that audience or from that audience are much more likely to say yes and much more likely to want to do something with you as a next step, because you've established the authority, you've given value before any business transaction. When we're not speaking on stage, what can we do electronically, or what do you recommend digitally to warm people up that is roughly equivalent to, oh my God, let's spend an hour listening to Jeremy drop value bomb after value bomb? What's the pre-call ideal exposure to you and your thought leadership before someone gets on a call?
So qualify is the first one. There's two ways that I recommend qualifying. One is have a dollar amount attached, like you mentioned, is on my strategy sessions, $147. And then the second part is a questionnaire. If somebody doesn't get through the questionnaire, they don't get to my scheduling link. Because if they don't have the time to invest in what we're going to talk about, well, I have other things.
So you do questionnaire first, then scheduling link?
Yes.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. A lot of people do it the other way because they want to do easy step, hard step. Yep. You're saying, no. Hard step gets you my calendar.
Yeah, exactly. So hard step, pay first. Hard step, answer questionnaire, and then click the time. And so people work really hard to get on the phone, but by the time they get there, I've got, I don't know what the percentage would be, but a much higher likelihood that this is somebody that's going to be the right fit to work with me in some way, shape, or form. And then it's easier to take the approach of not being attached to the outcome because it's just a relationship. They're already pre-qualified. So there's something that can come from this almost no matter what. Yeah. So that's the approach. The other part, as far as beforehand, is in one of my sequences I have set up, I send people episodes of my podcast interviews that I've done with people because it builds up my authority. They can't see me on stage if that hasn't been an opportunity. But I still want them to be able to experience somebody else introducing me somewhere as, the best-selling author, the international speaker, all that stuff that sounds great in a bio. They need to hear it and not from me. They can scroll through the website, but they know I put it on the website, right? So they want someone else to tell them that because that third-party validation is so important. And then in a podcast like this, they can hear my style, my approach, my mannerisms. Like they get a feel for who I am. And some people will connect and some people won't, and that's okay. But it's that warm up. And so they feel like they know me before they get on the phone. So it's not going, hey, Mr. Newman, it's nice to meet you. It's David, how are you?
Right.
And starting that conversation that way just makes such a huge difference to how fast you can build rapport and build trust.
Absolutely. Well, this has been so fantastic. I'm going to ask you two final questions. The final question is, how do people get connected and stay connected to all of this Jeremy brilliance and all this permission to sell wonderfulness, including you've got some great ebooks, you've got your book, you've got your blog, you've got your Facebook group that people need to know about. Even before we get there, though, if people were to take one key concept about sales and selling and doing it the high integrity way that you recommend, what would you hope that that one key nugget would be?
Just don't be attached to the outcome. Like, really, if you're doing a strategy session, you're meeting with somebody, whatever the context is, try to identify the problem before you try to solve it. It's like a doctor is not going to say, oh, you need your arm amputated, the second you walk through the door, right? They're going to ask you what the problem is, where's the pain, and they're going to try to solve it. And that's what we need to do. No matter what business you're in, no matter what your topic is you're speaking on, you need to solve a problem. In order to do it, you need to ask the right questions. Otherwise, your audience isn't going to feel like you actually care. There's lots of problems I can solve with sales. But if I go in and say, oh, here's the solution, and I haven't asked anything about the problem, they don't feel the connection. I have to say, look, you need to expand your sales team. Great. I understand that. I've experienced a similar thing. This is how we do it. Like, I've got to connect the solution to their problem. Otherwise, it's not going to land. So don't be attached to the outcome. Focus on solving problems first.
Totally fantastic. Now, how do people get connected and stay connected to more amazing wisdom just like you shared here? And we're going to link all of this up in the show notes when people go to thespeakingshow.com. All of Jeremy's links and resources will be right at your fingertips. But where can we steer people for more help?
The main website is permissiontosell.com. And you're welcome to join my Facebook group. It's Permission to Sell Nation. The website is permissiontosell.group. So that's our Facebook group where I run my weekly live show through there, Sales Team Rescue. We do that every Wednesday at 2 Eastern. And there's lots of other goodies you can find on the website. My book, my 5 C's of Successful Sales Conversations is a free download you can have as well. Surprise, when you download it, you will have an offer on the thank you page, $7, 24 hours. But yeah, I would love to have every single one of you in my community. And my goal is just help you increase your sales, help you around sales mindset, and ultimately help you make a bigger impact with what your business does best.
Absolutely amazing. And Jeremy, I'm going to give you the highest compliment that I ever get myself, which is you are a guy who walks your walk. You know that your stuff works because you live it, breathe it, and do it daily.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm glad that we had the opportunity to meet in that context before the interview as well. So
absolutely. So I have experienced all sides of this,
You know what? And I'll give a shout out to you because we didn't even realize it initially, but when we first met, I'm a student of yours in one of your programs as well. So you, my friend, are the same way. You walk it, you talk it, and you rock it.
There you go. Thank you. All right. We have to have you back because I'll tell you, sales and sales mindset and skill set and scripting and screwy bad sale. We should do a whole episode on just screwy, terrible sales advice.
Let's do it.
People have gotten. That would be a lot of fun. So that's our next date.
Done.
Well, that wraps up another episode of The Speaking Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on iTunes. Subscribe. Tell a friend. Go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thespeakingshow.com. See you next time.